Hello, everyone. I'm the okayest bassist, and this is the BASSics Volume 28. My camera is pointed too high. Need to fix that. That should work. Making sure it's not going to fall over. So, this is, again, BASSics Volume 28. I haven't heard if anyone is going to join me today, so as of now, you're just stuck with just me. Let me pull up chat. See, there's a few people it says are watching. If anyone is watching, please let me know how the audio is going, because I know that was a thing a couple weeks ago that it wasn't going. So if someone could give me a simple sounds good, yes, no, whatever, shows that there's currently two. So hopefully they're just watching and can hear me. What I'm going to, unless someone else joins in and has something else to discuss, should be a quick topic today on whether or not it's not whether or not you need new gear, it's whether or not the new gear is worth it for you to try. The reason I thought of covering this is that at my church, we usually have two acoustic rhythm players: piano, keyboard, drummer, and bass. So we used to, years ago, there'd be someone playing an electric guitar for lead and for like a lot of drive and fill. We don't have that anymore. So now the mix is still pretty full with the two acoustics, but could be better. So what I did was I looked around, see if there were any, common things to do, and basically what I found was an octave pedal would be a good option. Put it on the bass or on the guitar, preferably, since we don't have anyone playing anything sustaining. Instead, their acoustics playing rhythm. It would be put it on bass with a +1 octave to kind of help fill it in sonically. I went all around looking and then asking, of course, the other folks who I know, who know way more about bass and are way better at it than I am, and to get any of their opinions. And I was given quite a few, some in the budget range, some in the, hey, if you really want something awesome and want to go crazy, here you go. Long and short, it was pretty much put to the Boss OC5, the newer iteration of their octaver. Got it in, tested it out at home, making sure I understood how the knobs and buttons and switches work. Once I had it kind of figured out, I took it to church today, and the bassist tried it out after practice and really liked it, so he ended up using it during the service. And it's things like that where if you're looking at a piece of gear, a piece of equipment, when you're trying to determine, is this something that I should buy? Moreover, is it something that I actually need? Is it something that's going to improve what I'm doing? Because at the end of all of it, the point for us as musicians is to fulfill the needs of the song. So if you are already set up, you have a whole pedal board, maybe you're looking at replacing one of your pedals because something else has come out, all well and good. Returns aren't a thing that I like to do. Like, I don't like to go buying something thinking, if I don't like it, I'll just return it. I prefer to do a bunch of research myself, then turn around and determine, like, do I need this specific thing? Does it have anything that could be better than what I currently have? For example, I don't own any pedals, so the octaver wasn't something that I had that I was looking to replace. It was something I didn't have. I was looking for it to fill some sort of need. I had considered looking at something like the Anagram by Dark Glass, the Quad Cortex, the one of Line 6's Helix HX, whatever. I decided not to go one, or even something like the Camos. I decided not to go with anything quite so extravagant, quite so expensive. I just needed something simple to fill in since it's the base for a praise and worship team. It's not like I needed stuff with drive. I don't need flange. I don't need reverb. I don't need any of that. And it's not just me because I normally don't play bass at church. It was just something that could help sonically fill the space left behind with us not having an electric guitar instrument that would fill that space, kind of like strings would. Again, we do have a keyboard player, but not always is it feasible for her to do those kind of fills, especially if we have someone on bass already and the Octaver could do that. So I ended up getting it ordered again, and we tried it out. The same thing would apply on other stuff too. Obviously, when it comes to gear, people typically fall in one of two camps. Either I want all the gear, or I only want my specific select gear, and then that's it. Um, Kind of like use basses as an example. Some people do a one and done. They get a bass. It does everything they need. They're done. Maybe, excuse me, maybe it's something to the effect of, okay, I'm going to get this bass because it's my main bass. Like if you're a recording artist, then of course you may have multiple things just because you need those sounds. Or you may be a, hey, I have this thing and I can make it do all of the things. Maybe you have a bass that has a pickup configuration that would allow you to make it sound like a jazz bass, sound like a P bass, whatever. Um, all of these things are definitely possible. So, but other people may go, no, if I'm going to play a jazz sound, I need a jazz. If I'm going to play a P sound, I need P. Whatever. And that's again, that's each person, and everyone's entitled to the way they want to do it, and more power to you for doing it that way. It's whichever way works better for you and ultimately is going to make you happiest, because the happier you are with your stuff, the more likely you are to practice. The more you practice, the better you're going to be. And again, at the end of the day, it's all to fulfill the needs of the song, of the music itself. Excuse me. Allergies suck. So when looking at that gear, and there have been plenty of people who have done videos about this. Samurai Guitarist is one who I know did one very similar to what I'm saying. I'm just putting my personal spin on it. If you're looking at a piece of gear, for the longest time, all I had as far as an amp, I used to have the Orange Crush. I think it was the 25. That was my first bass amp. It sounded great. I ended up getting a Spark 40. I found an external battery pack that could charge a laptop, which could also run the Spark 40. I ended up getting rid of the Orange, which I thought sounded better, but it was because I preferred a minimalist setup on the amp. I wanted to be able to have an amp that would work, that I could take with me, that wasn't going to be a big problem with carrying it. If I couldn't find an outlet for it, then I was good. I needed something that could run on battery. However, when it comes to basses, I am not that way. I like having different basses. Now, some of these basses behind me are things I've gotten from friends. For example, this one directly over my shoulder that you can see, that is a Gear for Music. I think it's a 972 5-string fan fret. I got that from Johnny Dibble. This fretless EHB I got from Sono. This silver one is a surprise for the future. This close Apollo 5 I didn't technically get from Bully, but I had gotten a bass from Bully, and then since we were going to NAMM, we were going to talk to the folks at Close, and in knowing Bully and being with him when we went to the Close booth, the owner gave me a great deal on this. So it's still a bass that I wouldn't have had if it weren't for Bully. So this is my Bully bass. As Bully puts it, I'm assembling my Bassfinity Gauntlet. Um, so this will be, well, it goes right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the reserved spot is for the day that Proper finally decides he doesn't want his 5-string Thunderbird, and then that will come to me, and then I will have all of the gauntlet assembled. But then I have other bases. For example, if I know how my camera works, would be really cool. So right here, a Dingwall. I've wanted a Dingwall for the longest time. I love multi-scale, and basically any review that you see online that talks about multi-scale is either you should get a Dingwall or, well, how does that compare to a Dingwall? Because, that's their thing, is multi-scale. So I've wanted one, and then I found out that triple pickup D-Rock is completely passive. Oh my gosh, it sounds great. Like, of all the basses I have, there are 3 that sonically stand out as great to me. The Dingwall, like I just said. This Close, which is also a strictly passive system. I thoroughly love the sound this thing can put out. And then, of course, the Strandberg has a sound all its own with the Fishman Fluence. Eins, of course, sounds amazing. I really love that Delano X-Tender. But I don't count custom-made basses into the factoring because you can't get that bass. Like, I mean, if you message me here and you want to send me enough thousands of dollars, I'll sell you Eins. I'll ship it to you. You give me enough thousands of dollars, I will drive Eins to your house and deliver him to you. And then I will have Gustav make another one similar. But, like, I don't count custom basses because there's too much personal touch on them because you designed them. So when only talking about now Close, there's argument of is it like it's a boutique bass, but it's a production model that they make, so I count it. The Strandberg, the Dingwall, they are things that aren't like on a shelf. You're not going to a Guitar Center and grabbing a Close, a Strandberg, and a Dingwall all in the same day, brand new from that store. Not going to happen. I'm not saying there's not a store that doesn't have them, but your typical music shop is not stocking all 3 of those in one day. And if you have enough money to buy all of them, then you don't need to go to that music shop probably. But those 3 stand out very, very much as a great sound to me. Of course, the Close and the Dingwall are only passive. The Fishman Fluence on the Bowden they're Fishman Fluence, so they always have to have power, but I always leave it in the passive tone setting, the vintage setting. Then you have the rest of the basses over here. This was my first dream bass. It was the, hey, if I could have like a bass, that's the one I want. And then I ended up getting it, and then I found out they made a short multi-scale, and then I did the whole neck swap thing I've talked about plenty of times. This one, there's another video coming out on it later this year. I had one of these Ibanez 505s in the Aurora Black. I liked it except for the stupid jack, and I swear the one I had must have been made wrong because way different when I tried a second one. Sire F10, I ordered one of these originally that went to Bully. And then when Bully got it, he loved it, said it was amazing, told me it was his Christmas present. So if I wanted one, I had to get my own. And then this one ended up being a return, and I got it for really cheap. Court Space 5, I love headless and I love multi-scale, if you couldn't tell. It's headless, it's not multi-scale, but it's exceedingly inexpensive compared to others that are like it. So I ended up picking it up because I figured if someone ever came over and was like, hey, I want to try a bass, I like those headless ones, that would be the one I'd be least likely to worry over. The 505 would be another one I wouldn't be likely to worry over them trying it out, or if one of my kids wanted to learn. Then that's a Court A5 Plus. There's a whole story on that. It'll have a video eventually as well. All of them have videos. If they're not out now, they will be. But the A5 has an active passive switch, but only active pickups. So you have to have a battery. Will not work without the battery. This one has a cool story too. It was involved in a fire. That's kind of hard to tell because of the live logo, but the headstock significantly darker than the body, even though they're supposed to match. It was involved in a fire in a music store. It got salvaged. Everything on it's still original, so some of the stuff's kind of residued. I didn't want to like buff it and polish it all. And then the tuning machines on it are a little bit toasted, but they work perfectly fine. That one's actually for sale on Reverb right now because I didn't realize it had active all the time pickups, and it's just a preamp bypass switch. So if anyone's interested in it, I think I'm the cheapest one on Reverb for it. And if you tell me you're on the you watch the channel, then I'll cut you a deal. I do have a couple other basses, like in this case down here. I have two basses. So again, on gear, I don't look at is getting a bass going to solve a problem I have sonically. I like the way they look. I like the way they feel. Each one does have a different feel to it. For example, this 1505 SMS and this 1005 SMS both have the same roasted bird's eye maple neck. So the feel of the neck, the bodies are basically the same. One has the nice burl poplar top, the other has the matte paint finish. Pickups are Nordstrand versus a Bartolini setup. They're played in passive anyway, so I doubt there's that big of a sonic difference. I've never done a shootout between the two, but maybe I will. But the silver 1005 has flats on it, whereas everything else has tape wounds. A couple of them are labellas, just because I had them and they fit. Like on the F10, it has labellas because they were longer. I was able to do body through, and they were still long enough that their silk wasn't even touching the nut. The 505 has labellas because I saw those at NAMM and they were green, and Bully has his Hamel bass, which is his Joker bass, which is purple with green strings, so I did the same thing, but I did it with tapes. The Dingwall has tapes from a place called Pyramid Strings. I think they're out of Germany. That was a custom set made specifically for a Dingwall. And they feel different. The labella strings typically feel smooth like glass, whereas the D'Addario tapes, the ETB 92s, they feel soft like fabric. So the best way I've ever come up with to describe it beyond that is labellas feel like if your string was the right thickness and made a fishing line, whereas the others feel like it's wrapped with a nylon like what you would have in clothing. But then the pyramid strings are different. They actually have like a texture to them, so they feel a little rougher, but they're not like tactile to your finger as much as a round. I go back and forth between thinking they're the best tapes and thinking they're the worst tapes, and they're both at the same time. But like each of these basses is different, does something different, feels a different way. I was watching the podcast, the In the Pocket podcast that Johnny Dibble and Chris do, or that guy on bass. If you want to find him on YouTube, that's Chris's handle. I was watching theirs, and Chris was talking about, as a musician, like a professional musician, that's his job. If something were to happen where all of his gear were stolen or whatever, he lost all of his gear. Like he has a quad Cortex, and he says he doesn't think he would get another one. He thinks he would go for like the Helix, or the HX Stomp, something in that family, or build a pedal board as opposed to the one expensive piece of equipment. And and then I say the same thing. If something were to happen and we had a fire or someone broke in and stole all of my bases, which holy crap, they have to have a hell of a vehicle to be able to fit all of the bases, unless they're just letting them sit on top of each other, and then shame on them. But if something happened where I lost all of them, I would get another like Eins. I would get another, again, if insurance paid me the reverb value of all of the stuff is however many $1,000, I would get another Lignum made. I'd get another Strandberg. I would try to get another Close, and that might be it. Like I would probably get another EHB, but I would never be able to get another of this one, because I'm not going to buy two and then swap the next. It would be silly to do that unless I'm going to sell the other. Which the one that I did have, off which this neck came, was the Emerald Green SMS, and I put the Wingate Panga Panga from this one on it, and it did look excellent. Speaking of Sharon, if you ever decide you don't want that bass, remember, I get it back. Just a reminder. But, like, would I buy all of these things again? No. Do I plan on getting rid of a lot of these things? Not really. It's the thing of my wife has so aptly put it that, you know, if all I do is buy a bunch of bases and then sell a bunch of bases and then I buy more, it's just a hole in the ground where we're throwing money. So it's not a thing sustainably able to be done. Unless I find them on like a hell of a deal, like a third the price of their normal value, and then I can buy it and maybe do the review, and if I like it, keep it. If I don't, sell it and break even at best, if not make money. But like, again, these aren't a thing to solve a problem, so I don't look at them in that same light as what I do other, like I count instruments separate from gear. I take gear to be what is going to take my instrument and get it to my audience. So I don't look at anything of, like, I look at everything after the bass as the gear. So right now I'm using the Positive Grid Spark Link as the wireless system. Something's gone weird with my WS70 Plus. It has a lot of buzz to it now, and the receiver of the module dies like twice as fast. Like I've had it go dead, charged it and not charged the transmitter, and it goes dead before the transmitter does. So it's like more than twice the battery. So I'm thinking there's something wrong with the receiver. I'm gonna have to reach out to Amazon and see, since that's where I bought it, see if they have any advice, if they have a way of getting in contact with the manufacturer. But since it's S Swift, I would suspect, you know, just a Chinese manufactured company, I don't know if there's going to be any support, or if it's going to be buy another one and then, you know, exchange whatever. But again, anything after the bass is what I consider gear. So the wireless system that I'm using, is it going at this point to the one pedal, which is the OC5, which I left at the church because it's not anything I'm gonna do more than just play around on, which isn't bad. I mean, you play, you're practicing. It's gonna make you better, or at least make it where you don't get worse. Unless you teach yourself something bad or not helpful, then you could make you worse, I guess. But anything that takes the bass's signal to me is gear, or things like any accessories, strap locks, cases, music stands. I have a stand here behind the ring light, which is, I don't remember the brand of it. It's like Pro something. I think it's Musician's Friend, Guitar Center's own brand. But it has fold-out tripod legs that have it sit at a slight back tilt, and then it has like a flip-forward extendable V where you can hang the headstock. I have one of those in the event that I'm ever here and I need to grab another bass and I don't want to walk all the way to hang it up, which is usually not the case because all I got to do is wheel over there in my chair. But I have that, so if something was going on where I needed to do a quick comparison between the two back and forth, I could just set it down next to me and hang it up rather than having to go back on the wall. Um, all of that stuff I consider gear. Again, I went from the Orange Crush 25, which I liked the sound of a lot, and then I went to the Spark 40, which I didn't like the sound as much, but the portability and functionality of it made it where the slight audio difference to me was worth the loss of the slight audio difference so that I had the functionality of portability and things like that. I ended up going from the Spark 40 to now the Spark 2, which has the battery pack. I don't have to buy something external and rig all that up. Um, and then it's a little more powerful. It seems to fart out less than the Spark 40 did. And then I have my Glenn Hughes edition of the Orange Crush 50, which is a smoke purple. Surprise, surprise for, you know, the bassist who played Smoke on the Water. Um, and I really like the sound of it. It gets plenty loud for the room, for the house, pretty much. Um, I've had a couple of other amps, like I had a Trace Elliott Elf 1x8. I think I've had two of those, and they sounded good. I basically set everything to noon and then just leave it, unless I absolutely need to increase volume, like if a bass is putting out super low output. But the amount of power that it had and its sound didn't sound better than the Spark, so I didn't keep them. I do like the Orange Crush 50 better than the Spark, but now that I have the Spark 2 and it has battery power, and the Glenn Hughes sounded so much better, even better than the other Orange Crush I had, now it seems it's worth it to me because I have a big area in which I can play. Before, we were living in an apartment building. None of the neighbors wanted to hear me thumping out as badly as I play. It wasn't going to be ever oh, hey, listen to that music. Now I use the Spark 2 for practice stuff. I do use it portably, like when I go sit out on the porch and we want to sit and hang out outside when the weather's nice and there's no pollen or storms or anything to ruin the time sitting outside. I'll bring the Spark 2 wireless set. Boom. I can play bass sitting outside while visiting with my family. It's just so much nicer to have that. Would I get rid of the Glenn Hughes Spark or Glenn Hughes Crush 50? I guess, but I don't have a reason to. Like, having a backup amp is nice so that if something craps out, I have it. I did use a Boss, I think they're called the Dual Cube LX. They are, it can be battery powered, but the downfall for me with it was that those batteries, I think it's like 9 or 12 double A's. So if you're figuring you're buying a pack of batteries to put in it, and those things, one, you're risking corrosion if you leave them in. If you don't leave them in, you might grab it forgetting to put batteries in it. So I would leave them in. If anything, I'd leave them in and put a piece of plastic down one side so that there's no conduction. But anyway, it was just, to me, it was annoying that I'd have to keep buying batteries eventually as opposed to a rechargeable pack, which could have been an option. Like, they literally could have wired one and said, like they do with the Bluetooth MIDI controller, they could have easily said, okay, we sell a battery pack for this much. I wouldn't have gotten rid of it because it had the cool, like, drum thing in it that I liked. The Spark, I know, has that option. I just haven't played around with it because it's not just a button and a knob that I can turn on the top to make it do stuff. In the Spark, you have to go into the app, and as first world as that sounds, it's just more trouble to me than what it's really worth to play around with it. So each of those things, again, solved a problem, is why I went to what I did with those. But again, the basses themselves, I see differently. And again, if you look at it of, oh, well, I need all of these pedals because they all do a different thing, more power to you, go right ahead. I'm sure there are people out there the exact opposite of me who look at it and go, "Oh, I have this bass. It's my bass. It's the only one I care to have. I don't need another one." But I do want 17 amps and 400 pedals and all of these other things. Cool, go for it. I mean, each person has a thing that they prefer and that they like, and that's what they should do. What I just know is when I look at, I like the sound of a DI. I've gone into the Spark app and tried changing the amps. I've gone in, messed with the settings. Most of the time that I'm using the Spark, I turn the amp sim section and all of the pedals off. It's literally just a DI into the modeling amp. Now these, the Spark Neo, I've actually had to contact customer service on it because the Bluetooth audio, phenomenal. Like, does not need to be more than a half of its volume, and even though I'm hearing impaired, it sounds great. Right now, I'm using it, and if I hit the volume up button, I get a little chug chug that it does to indicate, yeah, the volume's all the way up. So if I plug the receiver into the bass and play with the volume for that receiver all the way up and the bass's volume all the way up, I still have to turn on the amp sim to max out its volume and add gain. And then, of course, have to add a noise gate because there's going to be some buzz at that high amount of volume and gain. And then I can kind of hear well enough to play along with a track. So I know there's something wrong there because I've read online people are like, no, usually it's the opposite. The Bluetooth is too quiet for people, and the instrument audio is just cranked. So I like these as a set of over-ear monitors. They don't have like active noise canceling, but that's not a big deal. Like, it's isolating your ear. Being an over-ear, you're going to hear stuff in it. So I've used these at church. They did great. The volume was just low, but with the monitor system, I can increase that, and it's good. So they've worked great. I plugged them into the bass today while everybody was practicing because I get there early because I'm the one who keeps the master sheet. So if someone says, "Hey, I'd rather," when I'm playing this, it really feels to me like instead of an F, I think I'm playing a B flat. It sounds better. So I can go in and change that. Like, okay, that's not how it's written, but if everyone thinks that's what works, then cool. So I was there, and while they were doing it, I was just playing along. So basically, the the pedals, to loop back to the original thing, pedals, basses, uh, what if, whether it's headphones I would consider gear because like these have the option on the bottom of them. I think it's on the, yeah, it's right here on the right side. You can use a guitar cable. You can just plug straight in, which is something I should test. I should test using the Spark Link if it's different with that input as opposed to the original direct Bluetooth connection. Anyway, experiments to try on just this to see if I can get it to work better. But like these headphones, they're awesome. Like if the volume was equivalent to the Bluetooth for like a 1-to-1, like this maxed out was about even with the max out volume of a Bluetooth connection, I would recommend these things to everybody because again, you can plug straight into your instrument, still apply effects, have it as just a practice amp that won't disturb anyone else, or you could use it as a set of over-ear monitors if you're playing somewhere, as long as it has, you know, a 1/4-inch plug output as well as wherever you're sending your signal. Like I'm using it on my Focusrite Solo right now as the headphones. Works great. I can hear me fine. Now, granted, these are turned all the way up right now so that I can hear myself. But because the Focusrite has its own direct volume and all of that, I could increase all of that if I was having trouble. But again, each piece of gear that you get, if you have the money, do what you want. If you don't just have throwaway money, then I recommend making sure that what you get is supposed to solve a problem. If that problem is, hey, it's a pedal board that I'm putting together, and I have this drive and I have this drive, and neither of them really do what I'm wanting, and you're going to buy another drive pedal, go right ahead. You're trying to solve that problem. If it's, well, I have the quad cortex and it's supposed to do everything, but I find that I need a little more compression, then get a compressor pedal. Whatever. Um, if, however, your problem is, eh, I just like new shiny things. If you have the money to throw away on it, go right ahead. If you don't have the money to throw away on it, that is the time that I would caution of the, if you're happy with your signal, whether it's what you're sending to a front of house, whether it's what's coming out of your own amp, whether that's a practice amp, a headphone amp, a gigantic like 800 watt that you're using to shake the dust off the rafters in your house or your garage or wherever. If it's, I just want new things, and you don't have an actual problem, that is where I hazard against the, is it worth it to buy the stuff? Um, but I mean, you could always be happily surprised with something that you purchase. Like you might get a thing, and be like, I don't really know. Like I've had that happen with a bass. I've gotten a bass because whatever, it was something that I saw at the local shop, um, and I was like, that's super cool. I want to get that, and then I get it, and eh, this isn't what I was hoping it was. Or, oh, when I was there and I plugged into their SVT or their GK or whatever they had, it sounded amazing. I get it home and I put it into my setup, and now it just doesn't sound as good. And I definitely don't want to go back and buy all of the crap that I plugged it into so that I have this one bass that sounds good there when all the others sound fine. But on that note, like, I've also had it stuff where I've bought it thinking, hey, this should be okay, and then it turns out to be great. Like when I bought the different wireless transmitting systems, I bought the cheapest one I could find because I just wanted a cheap wireless thing because my boy was really young and he would come up and grab cables and literally just try to hang from them. So that was damage, risking damage on an instrument, risking damage on the amp. So I went with wireless, so there wasn't a wire for him to grab. And then I tried out a little bit more expensive ones. I tried ones that said they had lower noise, and then I had enough, so I did that comparison video. I like the wireless transmitter systems. I use them all the time. I own one cable, and I leave it at church. It's actually what I use to plug in the OC5. Um, so like I otherwise I don't use anything but the wireless systems, and I've been pleasantly surprised with what good of a connection you can get from a low cost. You don't have to go out and spend $500 to get a wireless system. You can get one for $50. That's really good. Um, it's just like in ear monitors. I've seen those that go for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but right now I'm using a Positive Grid Spark Neo into the Focusrite, and it's working great. Again, then I can unplug it, plug it straight into an instrument, sit in the living room while while my wife watches Moana for the 800th time. I've seen the movie a few times. I don't need to watch it again. So I can sit in there and still be part of family time while also playing my bass, practicing so I get better. And they're not listening to me thumping through a wall across the house, and everybody wins. So it's a practice amp. It's a good set of Bluetooth headphones. I wish it had a mic. That is the only complaint I have about the Spark Neo as it's designed. If it had a mic, they would be the only headphones I would use because music sounds great through them. If there was a way of just plugging in a mic, even if Positive Grid was like, hey, you know, we've made it where you can plug into the 1/4 inch jack and you can have a microphone. I'd I'd pay like $40 for that option just to plug something in so it could hear what I'm saying. That'd be cool, especially if you could like plug it in. It was like an actual like mic that moved out, not just like one built into the housing. But even one built into the housing, to be able to use it for phone calls would be great because then I could just use this I'd have it. I just take it with me everywhere. But whatever. Maybe they'll do a Spark Neo 2 and it will have a microphone. I don't know anything else they could really change. So all of the different gear that you have is going to be different for you. It's going to be things that you enjoy, things that you think solve a problem musically. My big advice, as I've said a few times already, is don't just waste money to get new gear if you don't have a problem that you're solving, unless, and I'd still call this a problem to solve, unless you're buying something to experiment on a different or new sound. But again, then at that point, it's the problem you have is that you are trying to find a new sound. Does this gear fix that problem? If you're considering, hey, if you're thinking my pedal board is way too big, too heavy, too clunky, I want to replace it. So you want to get something like the Anagram, the Helix, the Quad Cortex, whatever. And you're going through to get one of those to replace everything else. If that's what you think you want, go right ahead. Just be mindful of how expensive those pieces of gear are. I won't have one. I can tell you that right now. Unless someone gives me one for free, or someone gets a hold of me and says, hey, I have this $1,500 Quad Cortex. I want to give it to you for $200. Okay, cool. Because then if I can't figure it out and I don't like it, I guarantee I can break even, if not make money. But outside that, I'm not picking one up. Why? I prefer a DI. I prefer just DI. I don't like putting effects to my basses. I will if I'm just having fun sitting here playing around, but it is never something that I want to do because the only place I play is church. It's not something I ever need to do at church, is a whole bunch of effects. And I just like the sound of a DI. So I don't need anything like that. But again, if it's your problem is you need to want to make a new sound for yourself, then that's completely fine. Because again, you're getting the gear to solve that problem. As I have said multiple times on the channel and will continue to say, the biggest thing on getting gear is don't just keep getting gear for the sake of getting it. As a person trying to, well, I say trying, as a person who's putting in some effort at creating a possibly monetized YouTube channel, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think I'm that entertaining. Some people do. They're entitled to their opinion, and I appreciate that opinion because it makes me good. But as someone who would enjoy some sort of monetization out of a hobby, just so some of the time I spend enjoying myself also gets some money, I look at it of, you know, some of the stuff that I've purchased has just been purchased so I could do a video on it. That's all there is to it. Some of it I bought because I was going to do a video and hoped I would like the thing and want to keep it. Some of the stuff I got thinking, I probably won't like this, but it was something on a significant sale, again, where I wasn't going to break, where I should be able to break even on it. I've said it multiple times, the biggest thing on acquiring gear is don't acquire gear beyond your means. On one of, I don't remember if it was one of my lives or Sono's lives, the statement was made of, well, I had that Sono had a musician's friend card, and I think they gave like a $9,000 limit, and it was like, no, that is way too much temptation, so Sono, I guess, just destroyed or got rid of the card. And that's completely wonderful because you know your own limits. I know I'm going to want to spend that money if it's available. And yeah, you can break it down over 48 months with zero interest, which is excellent. I mean, again, if it's $9,000 and it's 45 payments, then the math's really easy. So, I mean, you're not paying a stupid amount of money to have it all paid off, but that's money you're having to pay over time, so maybe that complicates some of your bills. Just don't let your hobby financially ruin your life, because you gotta make a living and you gotta pay for being alive anyway. Don't let your hobby make your life harder, because it's supposed to be the thing that you enjoy so that you have a good time. That's, I guess, as good of a thing as ever to re-mention it. I've mentioned it before. I did create a Patreon. There are, I believe, 4 tiers. The first one should be a thank you. You don't get anything else but thank you. I think the second tier is still thank you. But I don't remember. I think the second tier is you get like early access to videos. Like, I think they're a week. You get them a week ahead of time, something like that. I still haven't figured out how to do it because no one's signed up. The third tier is that you're entered for giveaways that I'm going to do. I'm going to use the money from the Patreon to fund the Patreon. So if the... Oh, looks like my transmitter died. There we go. A receiver. That was on the positive grid though, so I haven't used it a lot. So it needs charged. Anyway, third tier, I believe you still get the early access video. You get entered for the small giveaways. My plan is any money that comes in from the Patreon, half of it will go towards the stuff I can give away monthly. And then the other half will go into something I give away yearly. So if 10 people sign up, I don't remember how much the tiers are, but if 10 people sign up for $10 a month, $50 a month, 25 is going to go into the giveaways. And I expect to have those once a month. So it might be something like a custom t-shirt that says, you know, the okayest bassist with the logo. It might be if I find, like, I've thought about picking up cheap pedals off of Amazon, Temu, AliExpress, wherever, trying just to get like a, hey, I bought 5 pedals for $50, so let's see if these do anything that I would even care to use. It lets me experiment with pedals while also not costing a stupid amount of money. Then the yearly, again, at 5 people at $10 a piece, 25 a month, means that it's going to turn around and turn 250 times 12, so that's $300 by the end of the year. So maybe a cheap bass, maybe amps are really expensive to ship, so but maybe a small amp, another positive grid or the Neos or something like that. It's just a way to get more content onto the channel. I think the last tier is like $20. I think it's like $1, $5, $10, and $20. The $20, I will give you access to every video that's already uploaded, waiting for the week that it launches. I want to say that I said I'll give a personal email so you could just chat back and forth with me if that's what you want to spend your time doing. And then there was also, of course, all the other stuff, the early access, the thank you. I want to say that the top tier enters the contests, and there was something else extra on there. I don't remember. Again, nobody signed up, so I don't pay attention to what I put on there. I just know that if someone gets on there and they're going to give me money, that they're cool, and I will also, I don't remember if it's at level 2 or 3 that I start shouting out those people during the BASSics, or probably even at the end of every episode. I'll just put something. It'll probably be in the lives, just because I do one a week. And then they'll get their acknowledgement for being awesome and giving me money so I can do more stuff. But again, you know, that's a way of funding it, so I don't have to fund stuff. I'll just fund the stuff that I don't want to get rid of, like basses. But anyway, that is 50 minutes, an hour with the countdown. Haven't seen anybody in the chat, so hopefully everybody was able to hear me. If not, then you only said 1 or 2 people have been watching the whole time anyway, so I'm sure if they had a problem, they would have said something. So, as always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.